Humans aren't born out of laying around on their asses. We're the dominant species. We built all this. We're powerful, and we're beautiful, and we're ready to build the next level of civilization in God's plan. If you love God and you want to build a pro-human future, you must become the victor. But you have to believe in yourself first. This is the truth, and everyone knows it.
So for the longest time, people like myself and others have been elucidating the major issues within the gaming industry and going on and on about all the different problems and how to fix them, how to correct them, how to adapt. And it's fallen on deaf ears. People have pretty much ignored it within the industry, and now Ubisoft is at the point where the devs for one of their recent AAA big budget games, Star Wars Outlaws, are begging people to come back saying, we have fixed everything. And revealing that some very basic accomplishments, achievements, are still to be conquered. So basically, so few people are playing this that things that they thought would be achievements that people would earn rewards for, basically no one's discovered. And the lesson here, the message that needs to be pounded in, is that it's okay if you want to make a game for yourself, if you want to make an idea or a concept come to life for just you and your friends. But the question that you, if you want to have a successful product, need to ask and answer is, are our goals, our priorities, and our vision in line with the market that we are trying to get money from? Is the people, or are the people that are working behind the scenes, are they moving towards that goal of creating a product that is going to resonate with the people that we want to take money from? And the answer in Ubisoft's case is undoubtedly no. Nobody asked that question. Nobody cared about that question. They were all too focused on other things. Things that they cared about, but nobody else did. Identity politics, looking at this game like, oh, well, we need to have a female lead character. Okay, you can do that. But it's going to be a very, very tough sell in a Star Wars game where the audience is predominantly male. You know that you're going to have to overcome that boundary. You're going to have to overcome that hurdle. How do you do that? Well, you could ever be just super attractive. The other way that you could do that is a bait and switch. You could have her in armor. So, people don't really know until you reveal, after they've made the purchase, after they've invested themselves, then you make the reveal and say, oh, okay, like, this is a female character. There are ways to go about it. There are ways to do it. But you decide to, no. We're going to let them know up front that the character is unattractive, that the character is basically a combination of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo made in the most just one-dimensional, boring boardroom way possible. So you have the worst of all worlds. Because you didn't make this game based for the people that would ultimately buy this. You made this for a phantom audience. And you didn't care about the details. You didn't care about getting the details right. The minutia, getting the bits and pieces working. You released a broken game with a female main character, which is a stupid idea, and anyone who's being honest knows that it's a stupid idea. The age of making games for the niche preferences and proclivities of people working on the game, that needs to end. Otherwise, you are going to end. And I don't mean that as some sort of threat. I mean that, like, your livelihood, your career, and the career of the people around you. It's not sustainable. You're going to eventually go out of business.
Star Wars Outlaw devs admit that so few players have interest in their game that no one, not a single... Wait. This is actually almost sad.
Context. A few days ago, Ubisoft released their 5th patch for Star Wars Outlaws, and game journalists are already triumphantly claiming that everything wrong has now been fixed. As you might remember, Ubisoft released Outlaws on Steam last month, achieving the ludicrous player count peak record of 2,492. Well over 100 players more than Concord's previous record. And now, after this huge patch, we can really see Outlaws booming. And it's booming so much that in the patch notes, the devs are begging players to try the mini-games and get the goddamn mount.
Here's a little secret. To this day, no one has acquired their own Falthier. To unlock this, players need to complete dedicated short quests scattered around these betting stations. Let's see if anyone can crack it now. So the game is so dead, and people care about it so little, nobody has unlocked this in Star Wars Outlaws. How it started. Ubisoft executive says gamers need to be comfortable with not owning your games. How it's going. Exclusive. Ubisoft financial turmoil points towards imminent bankruptcy in 2020.
Yep. Yeah, we've been warning for years that this is coming. And the thing is, they only have themselves to blame. Because they were so cocky and so arrogant, and they condescended to people like myself and others so much. They believed that their shit didn't stink, and that it was only because a bunch of, irrelevant bigots were just unhappy at their social progress and enlightenment and morally superior position. Just a few people, irrelevant people, that they could do whatever they wanted, and they could tell these people, don't buy the game, we don't want you as customers. You've heard that over and over. You could have devs and writers and people involved threaten to punch gamers, as we've seen numerous times, alienate people, come out with, garbage microtransactions, just deliver a substandard product, not care about customer service, degrade the player, degrade the brand, degrade the experience, and at the end of the day, they thought, oh no, we're still going to be fine. Why on earth would you think that? Why on earth would you think that you were too big to fail? Nothing is too big to fail. When I was growing up, there were a lot of companies like Toys R Us. One of the biggest was Blockbuster Video. Hollywood Video was another one. You had Circuit City. I mean, there were so many stores from my youth that were huge that are just gone. Not that they downsized, they're gone. Blockbuster is gone. It is irrelevant, a footnote. There used to be one on every corner. You have always, no matter how big your company is, you've always got to have that hunger to expand, but also to maintain a level of quality that is second to none. And the thing about Ubisoft is that they had a blueprint for just generating cash. That's the part that blows my mind, is the level of incompetence and failure. After Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I don't know if it's singular or plural, Black Flags, all right? They had a mandate from the gaming community to make a pirate game where you sailed on the seven seas, and you could have made Grand Theft Auto Pirate Edition. You could have gone crazy. You could have made the single biggest game in history. You could have done something phenomenal. Instead, what was it, like Sea of Thieves or whatever game that you wanted to say was quadruple A, one of the most embarrassing quotes? If you had a game where a person could board a ship via a story, move their way up the rank to become captain, and then use their ship to sail the high sea like it's One Piece, and decide if they want to be a hero or want to be a villain, whether they want to help people or loot and plunder towns that they come to, if you had actually put some innovation and design behind it, you would have a game at this point that I think would be one of the biggest games that people were talking about. If you included multiplayer, if you had like an online experience, that could be one of the biggest games. But instead, you went with this weird, like, cartoony, obnoxious, grossly inept, overpriced abomination. And now look where you are. You have the opportunity of an open world Star Wars game. You could have made the next Knights of the Old Republic. And what did you do? You made one of the worst games that I've seen in a long time. Star Wars Outlaws. It is a failure in conception and execution. And then you follow it up with Assassin's Creed Shadows, which we're going to talk about it because they're already giving Assassin's Creed Shadows away for free. Yes, you heard that, for free. They're doing holiday bundles at Intel. And one of the perks is that you're going to get Assassin's Creed Shadows for free. This company has lost its way. It's lost any sort of vision that it had. It doesn't know what to do. And yet it still refuses to abandon wokeness and identity politics and that sort of rot gut mentally ill poison. They still refuse to do the one thing that needs to be done. Here's what you could do. Change Star Wars Outlaws' main character. Give players the ability to play as a man. Do it. You could do it with a patch. You can give the players the ability to play as a man. On top of that, you could have romance options that you add into the game. Actually make them interesting and compelling. You could still salvage this game, but you don't have the will to do it. That's the reality. You don't have the will to do it. And unfortunately, we're at a point now where you have woked yourself out of any sort of goodwill or second chance or opportunity. And now what people are left with is the reality that you are likely going to get carved up like a Christmas turkey. You are going to get divided into a whole bunch of IPs and sold off to the highest bidder in 2025. That's the likely outcome. And people are going to lose their jobs. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. And guess what? All of these woke freaks, these disgusting parasitic sacks of subhuman garbage that you pander to in the media, they're also on the way out. They're not going to save you. They're not going to... Their positive reviews aren't going to do anything for you. The one thing that you had to do, and you didn't, and now you can't, is appeal to the audience, the gamers, the people that would support your product through thick and thin if the idea was good and it was free from Western woke politics. This is a very simple equation. You have a recipe to print money, and instead you throw that in the garbage and choose to print shit. Garbage. Fecal matter. And it's inexcusable. And now you've got Assassin's Creed Shadows. That game is going to bomb harder than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You are going to be left with another massive, expensive, calamitous failure because you disgusting freaks, you low IQ losers, couldn't do the one thing that you had to do. Make an Assassin's Creed game about a Japanese fighting age man. That was it. Have it take place in feudal Japan. No wokeness at all. Have the story be interesting and compelling. meet historical figures perhaps, but ultimately have the story be based around a Japanese fighting age man. Hey, romance options. If you want to expand Assassin's Creed Shadows and you wanted to have like romance options, you wanted to make it more like an RPG, you could even do that. I mean, it's a Japanese setting. You could have done anything that you wanted, and you chose to give the audience Yasuke. Whoever thought that Yasuke was a good idea should be sued by the company, because that is tortious interference. That is somebody intentionally setting out to do damage to the company. You cannot convince me that there is a person in their right mind that sat down and said, okay, we've got Assassin's Creed. We need to make it in Japan. What do? Oh, let's have the main character be black. Not a single person looking to have the IP be successful and be well received, especially in Japan, would think that way. Nobody. It seems like a decision that was made by a diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging and bullshit commission would come up with. And ultimately, this is all by your own doing. Because you're too stubborn and you're too arrogant to listen to people like me and just put the brakes on and say, okay, enough. Enough. We're not doing the woke thing anymore. We're not pandering to identity politics. Take all of the LGBTQ and ethnocentric and black-centric and all of this other degenerate buzzword bullshit, delusional, cult-like behavior and flush it down the toilet where it belongs, and then focus on making something good that actually audiences want and are willing and happy to pay a premium for, which is $70. No more of this $200 bullshit or $120, for a game to lure people into your subscription service. No, just a solid game. And if people want to subscribe to your subscription service, they can do it. But you have a lot of work to do, Ubisoft, if you even care enough to try to salvage the jobs that are inevitably going to be lost. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for today's video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.